The Portland Trail Blazers officially clinched the 8th seed, knocking off the Memphis Grizzlies, earning a spot to play the first seeded Lakers. The bubble MVP has been absolutely breathtaking in every way imaginable. Damian Lillard all about the business, dropping 60s, 50s, and 40s from all angles. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. The Western Conference first round will be more compelling than the East for sure. Without further ado, here are my Western Conference 2020 NBA playoff predictions, starting with the most compelling one, Damian Red Hot Lillard against LeBron James and the Lakers. Many believe this will be more competitive and think the Blazers can even upset the Lakers. A tall task. Realistically, if Portland was fully healthy throughout the season, they're more like a 4-5 seed. Lillard putting up over 37 points, nearly 10 assists during the 8 games. The hottest player in the NBA, who was last in points scored, struggled during the bubble, but oftentimes many LeBron-led teams coast off the end of regular seasons to get ready for postseason play. But looking at the matchups, Lillard, McCollum will have to outscore Bron and AD to have a chance. Role players Melo, Zach Collins, and Nurkic. The two Portland bigs, a good matchup to contain AD. James, KCP, Danny Green, Davis, and JaVale. Portland having Trent Jr., Hezonja, and Whiteside off the bench against Kuzma, Caruso, Howard, Morris, Cook, Smith, and Waiters. LeBron never lost in the first round series, and unlikely, especially being the 1 seed. Anthony Davis absolutely destroyed Portland in 2018, sweeping them in dominating fashion, but without the defensive brilliance of Avery Bradley, Lillard will simply have to go to work. Nurk and Collins will be hammered with fouls guarding AD. James will do whatever he wants. I expect a monster series from him since he'll be matching up with Carmelo. And backup small forward Mario Hezonja trying to guard him. If Portland had a 3-and-D guy in the small forward spot, I can see the series going 7. But James won't have any defensive pressure, will do whatever he wants. In the 3 matchups this season, Lakers won 2 of them, scoring 136 and 128. Portland took the one January 31st, the game Lillard went off for 48. Dame will need a couple of those monster games. In one of the Lakers wins, James and Davis scored 21 and 20 points, but Kuzma 24 needs to step up. Not a typical 1 vs 8 seed. Portland winning 7 of 9. Lillard needs to be the leading scorer in the series to make it competitive. At the end of the day, the Lakers have too much firepower. Portland plays no defense whatsoever. They'll edge out the Blazers in a competitive 6-game series. CJ's back isn't 100%. Dame will have some incredible outings, but the Lakers just a better team. The 2 vs 7 matchup, Clippers Mavs. The Clips have had their numbers this season. Dallas has been widely predictable with their offense, isolating Luka almost every play. LAC won all 3 matchups, scored 114, 110, and 126. 21-year-old Doncic will have a daunting task with PG and Kawhi guarding him without having a reliable second option to run the offense. Role players Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., De'Aaron Finney-Smith, and DeLon Wright not good enough. Nobody outside of Luka and Porzingis capable of averaging 20 a game. The Clippers have Lou Will off the bench. Montrezl Harrell's back. Given the two's chemistry, Porzingis will get abused in his pick and roll defense. Luka will also have to deal with the pesky Beverly. The Clippers tend to get lazy at times, so I'm giving 1 game to Dallas, no more than that. This matchup will not scare the Clippers whatsoever, winning in 5. If they really go all out every game, they can easily sweep the Mavs, but I see a bad game from Paul George here and there, a series of growing pains for Doncic. 3 vs 6 matchup, Denver, Utah. Perhaps the game of the bubble in double overtime. Utah simply can't be overlooked despite the loss of Bogi Bogdanovic. Denver owned the season series 3-0, took advantage in the 4th. The Jazz have no answers for Denver's bigs on the glass. Michael Porter Jr. got boards as well. Rudy simply doesn't have enough offensive skill to go up against the most skilled big men. Donovan Mitchell struggled his last 2 playoff series, shooting a horrendous 34% from the field, has his hands full against Jamal Murray. Joe Ingles can't be depended upon to score 20 plus. One can argue the young Michael Porter Jr. is already better than Ingles. Jordan Clarkson's hit or miss. Torrey Gregg and Monte Morris solid. Denver has better offensive chemistry, playing their bench guys before the postseason. Mike Conley struggled most of the year, has no chemistry with Gobert. Going at it with Monte Morris, I see the Nuggets winning this one in 6. The better team down the stretch, more reliable options. Mitchell needs to average at least 30 for Utah to win. With Bogdanovic healthy, this goes 7 games, but the Jazz very vulnerable without him. Thunder Rockets. The matchup of Chris Paul against James Harden. Russell Westbrook will miss the first couple games, a scare for Houston. The Thunder's chemistry and leadership were of the most amazing storylines of the year. OKC won 2 of the 3 games played. The more balanced team with Gilgeous-Alexander, a rising star, good defender, Gallo a bucket getter, Schroeder a deadly closer. If Russ doesn't play, I see the Thunder winning this series in 6 games. Harden needs a reliable second option. Otherwise, the offense will be too predictable, and when actual defense is played in the playoffs, the 3-pointers won't be as easy to make. If Paul played like his typical self, knowing Houston's offense better than any other player, Harden cannot afford to underperform under any circumstances. With pressure on Mike D'Antoni, if Russ returns, let's say Game 3, it will be a 1-1 series, or comes back Game 5. Each team will be 2 apiece, way more pressure on the Rockets. Houston's fortunate Steven Adams not an offensive star, otherwise he'll get everyone in foul trouble. With Westbrook not getting out of the first round since Kevin Durant left him, I expect Brody to fight through the pain and do whatever it takes for his team to win. Harden will do most of the scoring, but Russ's ability to finish inside and crash the glass vital, living and dying by the 3. I see the series being tied 3-3 heading into Game 7. With Harden's ability to drop 40 on any given night, so can Westbrook. CP3's playoff history of not having any teammates score big points in the closeouts has been the reason why he gets eliminated. Paul will play great and put up some 25 and 10 games, but not a heavy scorer when his team doesn't make shots. I got Houston winning in 7 games. If Russ comes back in the middle of this series, I believe he will. On to the semis. The Lakers Rockets, the 1 vs 8 seed, small ball versus big ball. Without Anthony Davis and JaVale, LeBron would be bigger than everyone else on the court anyway. Houston has the season series 2-1. No LeBron August 6. James Kuzma, Green, and KCP lit it up the first meeting without Davis. After trading Capella, small ball edged out AD's 32 points thanks to Russ's 41. For LA to capitalize, they need to feed the ball to Davis down low and have him punish the 6'5 PJ Tucker. The X factors of Covington, House, Gordon, McLemore, and Rivers needs to knock down shots. For the Lakers, Green, Kuzma, Caruso not as good as Houston shooters. It will be interesting to see if James will slow the game down, allowing JaVale and Dwight to score easily and be effective. Without Avery Bradley's defense, if Russ gets back healthy in the second round, I see him absolutely torching KCP, Caruso, and Rondo. Green will have his hands full on Harden, Covington guarding LeBron. Rockets better guards because small ball hasn't been proven to work. Houston's too predictable. Davis, the best defender in the series, not easy to finish inside against him. The threes need to fall for the Rockets. LeBron might have some off games with Covington guarding him, but will easily get inside without any center protecting the paint for Houston. Harden needs to average around 35, be the best scorer in the series. Him and Russ needs to outscore Bron and AD. Eric Gordon needs to outplay Kuzma. Both teams will play extremely hard, but in a serious game on the line, LA's Giants will crash the glass and get more efficient shots at the basket, will prove to be better than the Rockets small ball. I predict the Lakers win this one in 7 games. Houston will expend a lot of energy every night. Tucker's 35 years old, matching up with Davis, too tiring of the task for a 7-game series. The Clippers Nuggets, LAC won 2 of the 3 matchups. The Clips' weakest position, the center spot, having their hands full guarding Jokic. Zubac's not quite there yet, but a big body. The Clips with Kawhi and Paul George, too overwhelming for Jamal Murray. The pick and roll of Williams and Harrell will cause problems for Jokic on defense. Lou Will can get his shots up and create just like Murray, while Torrey Craig and MPJ nowhere near the level as Kawhi, who's easily the best player in the series. Gary Harris and Will Barton will help, but a lot of question mark coming off injuries. The Nuggets young and bright, but not quite ready yet. Jeremy Grant much improved. I doubt PG Dozier and Bobo gets much minutes, while JaMychal Green, Landry Shamet, and Reggie Jackson also viable players for the Clippers. Denver will win a few games, but I got the Clippers in 6 since Leonard's just too good, which leads us to the Western Conference showdown we all been waiting for. Since the Kawhi and PG signing was announced, the heavyweight LA showdown taking place in Orlando. No home court, which benefits the Clippers. A 2-2 regular season series. The first game, Leonard dominated with no PG. The Christmas game, Kawhi 35 points, George struggled, scored just 17 on 5 of 18 shooting, Harold 18, Lou Will also struggled with 6, AD 24, LeBron 23, Kuzma 25, Pat Bev with the block on LeBron, a plus 26. Need that type of energy from him. The game in March, James 28 points, took over down the stretch, Davis 30, Avery Bradley a season high 24. The Lakers won't have him, a huge loss especially on on defense, Kawhi will destroy either Green or KCP. Leonard 27 that game, George 31, but Marcus Morris has been an absolute travesty his last 2 games against the Lakers. A pathetic 0 of 13 shooting, a combined 0 of 10 from 3, 1 point, and 47 combined minutes. Unacceptable. If he continues to have that type of performance, it would be absolutely terrible, but in reality, he won't be that bad. Will score here and there. The bubble team Clips were without Lou Will and Tress, while LeBron and AD the better duo. The gap between the depth of both teams easily favored the Clips. If Danny Green continues to break shots just like he did all bubble, and throughout the Sixers and Bucks series of last year's playoffs, it will be a disaster for the Lakers. Lou Will struggled the last 2 matchups he played against LA, but more dependable than Kuzma. James is already 35 years old. Clips will have the bodies to throw at him, plus he also needs to play solid defense for 48 minutes. No answers for AD, but the question remains whether he has the killer instinct in him. The Lakers also tend to go away from Davis in many fourth quarters. While James tries to take over, both need to play at an extremely high level to win, but for the Clippers to win, one of George and Kawhi can afford to have a bad game because Lou Will and Tress also capable of scoring 20 plus. Kuzma got a little ahead of himself after a regular season game winner, a question mark in the postseason. PG hasn't showed up in big moments in the past, but as a second option, Kawhi has proven to be one of the best closers. Lou Will also capable of clutch shots. If Avery Bradley was available, perhaps the Lakers get the edge, but with the Clippers' offensive weapons and seeing how hard some of their role players played in last year's first round series versus Golden State, I predict the Los Angeles Clippers will win the 2020 Western Conference Finals, not 7 games, but in 6. Yes, I said it. 6 games, the Clippers will beat the Lakers. Mark my words. Kawhi will prove he's the king of the West. Doc Rivers' game plan will outcoach Frank Vogel. The deeper team will go to the finals and face the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll be giving my finals prediction in my next video. The title won't be about the finals, but I'll mention it there. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.